So, Midwestern states have been especially impacted by the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe. Kansas is literally, and we have a map there on our screen for our viewers, is literally the middle of the country. And as a result, it's going to have an impact on neighboring states not having any access to abortion. How will abortion access in Kansas and in the region be impacted if this constitutional amendment passes?
Well, it's good to be here to talk to you about this because this is such an important topic and issue, especially given the Dobbs decision and the level of fear and anxiety and anger that folks are feeling right now. If this amendment were to pass in Kansas, it just like you said, right now in the state of Kansas. We have a constitutional right under our state constitution to access the full range of reproductive health care services, including an abortion. And right now we're seeing one of these extreme attempts to change our constitution. And we've watched for months as neighboring states have enacted or attempted to enact total bans. And, Kansans don't want politicians making their personal healthcare decisions for them. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is a lot of folks showing up to make their voices heard on an issue of great importance.
There was a recent poll, Congresswoman, by a Kansas City-based polling firm that found 47% of people said they plan to vote yes to remove the constitutional protection to abortion. 43% said they plan to vote no. There were 10% that were undecided. Does that, seem to reflect the mood of the Kansans you speak to? And what would you say to the 10% who are not sure how they will vote?
Well, I think that, of course, polling is something that folks look to as a way to try to figure out what people are feeling, boots on the ground, what's happening. And I can tell you in my conversations with folks at home, first of all, there are a lot of people who are, I have to keep coming back to this because so many people are truly, their lives have been upended by this. In fact, I was talking to a doctor who's an emergency room doctor who lives in Kansas, but works in Kansas City, Missouri. And Missouri is one of those states that Kansas has watched pass a very extreme set of restrictions and essentially a total ban. And they're not able or aren't sure if they can prescribe the regular course of treatment when someone comes into the emergency room who has been assaulted. And I think that those are exactly the extreme types of situations and frankly, dangerous situations that we do not want to see that in Kansas. We don't want to see politicians deciding when doctors can and can't treat a patient. Those decisions need to be made between a patient and their physician.